This is one of the biggest cases of crimes against humanity Argentina has seen. Almost 70 people are facing almost 800 charges of murder, torture and illegal imprisonment. Some of the accused were high-ranking officials who were said to have led a state-sponsored repression against left-wing activists in the late 1970s, a period known as the Dirty War, which human rights groups estimate left over 30,000 people dead or disappeared. The trial taking place here in court is a reminder for the Argentine society of one of the darkest chapters in its history. And for many relatives and friends of the victims who have gathered outside the tribunal, there is a need for justice. The trial will focus on what happened on the notorious Naval School of Mechanics, which is said to have been the biggest illegal detention centre the military had then. Human rights groups say that some 5,000 prisoners were taken to this place, many never seen again. For the first time, 8 former military pilots will be prosecuted for these flights. Among those who suffered this fate were the founders of the human rights groups Mothers of May Square and 2 French nuns, who had all been arrested by the military at the time. Their remains were later identified in common graves.
Every flight, according to what Cilingo said, were made up of a pilot, a co-pilot and 5 crew, 1 officer, 1 sub-officer, 2 corporals and a doctor who was responsible for giving injections. Because in the ESMA they gave them a weak tranquilizer, and then when they got into the plane they took off their clothes, took off the manacles, and then they gave them the final injection. They threw them out sleeping and alive.
One of the first military to speak about these flights was Adolfo Cilingo, a former Navy officer who is now serving time in prison in Spain for crimes against humanity.
Throwing
out sleeping human beings, I don't know. Do you know someone who could get over that?
Outside the courts, dozens of relatives and friends of the victims gathered for the start of the trial. Many will never forget what happened to their loved ones, but this trial, expected to last some 2 years, could mean some closure.